in line. So it's number one, it still comes from political head, and then we need to strengthen our institutions, especially the judiciary institutions, that people can seek redress when they are confident that they can seek redress. If there's any erring person who is going off uh, off line, they can always bring such persons to book. But I'm confident, except at the state levels. I know a lot of states are not yet there. And that's where we actually really need to focus on. But when you talk about real service delivery in many cases is at the state level. You will see that even recently there's some tweaking to the power sector law that can empower some states to begin to do some regulatory stuff and all that. So we have 36 states and Abuja, and they really need to rise up to the occasion. They're the ones that are closest to the people, and there's so many opportunities down there. So the states need to set up unit structures and then, of course, bring out a list of what they want to do, put it in their budget, let people know that this one is slated for PPPs and all that. But there are so many opportunities all over the country, even at the very local level, even on sanitation, you know, so many things, big one for big players, small one for small players, and everybody will be happy for it. But the states, the political leadership, and then the technocrats need to really put it out there that they're serious about it.
Right, Mr. Adeyemi Adedayo. Now, you mentioned while you were speaking about frameworks or structures, particularly in the judiciary and other areas, to give the foreign investors the confidence to want to come and invest. But we know that these PPP capitals are capital intensive. How attractive, aside from all these frameworks that you've spoken about, how attractive is Nigeria's investment climate to even make private investors to think about committing to long-term projects in the country?
Before, let me talk about the availability of market. The demand is there. The demand for services are there, and there is an established gap already. People have been denied of basic services over the years. So anybody that comes to fill in the gap would definitely meet huge demand and what we can call a business case. So that in that itself makes it difficult for people to look away from Nigeria. Secondly, regardless of all the turbulence in our political system, we have been running a democracy since 1999, unbroken democracy since 1999. And power has changed, and even political parties have changed, and government still continues. So regardless of the weakness that is perceived in our electoral system, in our judicial system, we have a track record that since 1999, we've been running unbroken democracy. And then all the structures that have been put in place, you mentioned the ICRC and that, they've been consistent over time. Yes, we've done some cancellations, maybe like the refineries and all that. But look at the telecommunication, look at the ports, we've scored more successes in terms of PPPs that are sustained, over time. So those are good credentials for anybody to want to come into the country to play. Then the other small issues, they're not small really, because the spike risk issues. Because that's one thing about PPPs. People do their risk analysis and they ask for different kind of, mitigating, whatever to mitigate those risks. And some of the time, our political people too are not willing to meet those risks. We should, if that's the reality on ground, But then, it's the climate is not too bad. We only need to address those few issues, and then we'll continue to have more people coming into the sector than what they are doing now.
Well, all right. We hope that Nigeria would do better on that. But then let's talk about the implication. What do you think are the social impact, fiscal impact, economic impact of, public-private partnership?
At the service level, at the individual level, when the services are not available, they are more expensive. I'll give you an example. Public water supply. Most Nigerians drink table water. We call it pure water. I'm sure you know pure water. That's what most Nigerians drink. And you know how much it costs. If you put it per cubic meter, it can never, the public supply can never be as expensive as that. So people don't realize that they pay more when a road, an interstate road, critical road infrastructure is bad. People pay more in terms of time, in terms of accidents, in terms of the cost of maintaining vehicles and all that. Look at our power sector. Whatever anybody wants to talk about it, we pay more using our generators. We really pay much more, and we cannot use generator 24/7. So we also suffer the consequence of non-availability of those services from those utilities, and we've waited for too long for government to catch up. And the reality is that the government does not have the resources to do so. So the benefits to the people is priceless. The services will be available, and there'll be a ripple effect, there'll be a multiplier effect to, down to people's life, to people's health, to people's wealth, to people's businesses. And that's number one. Then number two, of course, it also helps the entire financial system. There are going to be, different kinds of services, financial services, and then it's going to boost demand for professionals, demand for goods and services. I mean, there are a lot of places where you don't have services. When the money is available, then everywhere we turn upside down. There's a particular state we've been asking them, PPP, let's do PPP for your water in your capital city. Your water city, your capital city has problem with water and all that. And then all the professionals are down. The water corporation is not working, and everywhere is just dead. So I told them, I said, can you imagine if we bring about between 10 and 15 billion into this place and we begin to lay pipes, we begin to fix pump? Can you imagine how many people will start working again? Can you imagine the multiplier effect even on your economy? You don't have the resources, and yet you're not allowing us to come, and then the people are suffering even for lack of services. And then if the public infrastructure, public utilities are working, it also helps the private businesses. I mean, very common example is that of energy, is that of power. This interview now, you've noticed that I have gone on and off generator and NEPA about 3 times now. Can you imagine if I'm in a convoy of production and there's massive reliance on energy and then it's cutting and all that? So it's a win-win. It's a win-win for everybody.
All right. Now, before we go, I'd like you to tell us, what do you think must change for PPPs to become a major driver of Nigeria's infrastructural growth?
The political will, the leadership must imbibe it. The president, the governors, the local government chairman, it starts from them. I mean, you know, the kind of patriarchal system we run. Everybody's looking at the body language, the man at the top. If you want it done, people will run with it. That is the starting point. The moment we have them pushing for it, then everybody begins to run. There's this mentality that you want to come and take what belongs to us at the lower level. The people in the MDAs are saying, look, you want to take what belongs to me. I'm the one that is, this is my mandate. Why are you taking it away from me? But you're not doing anything with the mandate, you know? And then there's this mentality that you want to come and make money. Public supply is not private business. It's not a stroll in the park. There are so many operational risks that are inherited risks, and the government must give them soft landing, enabling environment, you know, and that's why it has to start from the top. They said, look, you guys, let this thing work. Stop making unnecessary demands. Stop dragging them. We are working together. They're coming to help us on what we're unable to do. You know, so for me, there must be an advocacy at the top for the top people, and then maybe all the legislative houses. Let that be a loud voice that, look, let this go to the private sector. The private sector says there's a business case. Let them have it. Let's free up resources for some other things. Put government money in what the private sector is willing to take on. You know, if that message flows from the top, I'm sure we have the structure in place, we have professionals in place, we have institutions, including financial institutions, that are ready to say the risk is worth taking. But the big man at the top has blown the whistle.
Okay, Mr. Adeyemi Adedayo, can you tell us about the P3 PAN Association? What is that about?
Okay. Of course, we're talking about PPPs, and there are so many professionals that are either involved in PPPs or are already trained, exposed, and are willing to take on PPP. So our association is also responding to the demand of the hour, that every one of us that has one or two contributions to make, let's come together and let the government and the people know that there are people who are well-trained, who are dedicated to make sure that PPP works in Nigeria. So we have people from different walks of life. We have economists, we have engineers, we have lawyers, you know, people who are already doing one level of PPP or the other, people who are trained, certified, you know, some of us are certified, you know, PPP specialists and all that. And we are loaded with skills, but we want the tough. Already we are primed to play. We want the tough to play. And these are some of the things that convinces investors when they look into the country and they see our association, they see that as an association of competent professionals. They know that when they come, they can have local transaction advisors and all that. So the issue of capacity to manage PPPs is not the problem in Nigeria. Hundreds of us, you know, over the place, environmentalists who are PPP focused and minded and all that, you know. So we are like a very strong plank and a very backbone for any PPP in Nigeria. You don't need to look far. If you are running into issues about who should advise you, it is contact us. We give you, we hand over experts to you who will support you, you know, and that also mitigates risk a lot, because it's a management capacity risk that you have just addressed, when you have people who can actually do risk analysis for you and tell you this is the way the structure should go, this is the kind of money you should use. There's no business case here except the government provides subsidies. You know, they will give you advice that will comfort both the government and then the private investor and even the public, because we also have communication experts who know how to communicate PPPs, the value proposition of PPPs, you know. So we are a strong response to the importance and the inevitability of PPPs to meet our infrastructure and public service gap. You don't have any choice than to